Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to a little show which I'm doing, which is board game themes that everybody should be designing games for, or something to that effect. I can't see because it's scrolled off the edge of my screen here. Hello, everyone. My name is Barry Doublet, or Barry Doublet, if you are Francais, and this show is stuck on. It was stuck on Chaz. And now it's on me again. Woo! And I have a panel with me to talk about board games that everybody should be, board game themes that everybody should be designing. And starting from my left, I have Chaz Marler.
Hello. It's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to talk about interesting themes that people should be using. I have a list, and only 6 of the 10 involve zombies directly.
And to the left of Chaz, I have my friend Craig Stewart.
Hey, Craig Stewart from the Gamers Table here. Yeah, there's a lot of themes out there that are being underused, some that have been overused, zombies. And I'm sure we'll come up with some good stuff here.
And to the left of Craig, I have my buddy, Mr. Burkhardsmeier, Berkey himself, Kevin. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, how you guys doing? Kevin here from Board Game Theater. Themes in board games. This is awesome. I like themes. I like some themes better than others. We're going to have fun talking about it.
Oh, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I've already mucked up the camera, and it's on manual camera, and I don't know how to change it to automatic camera. Why did I touch that button? Don't give a monkey a computer. Whatever you do. Okay. If you wish to ask us any questions, I will every now and again pop over to the question section and have a look and see if any of you guys got anything that you want to ask us. Shall I kick off with my first weird and wacky idea of a game board theme that nobody's ever done?
Sure.
There's a consensus there, Craig. Thank you, mate. Okay. I was trying to think of odd, mundane themes which are not used in gaming a lot. And this happened while I was eating breakfast one day. I was watching the news, and I thought, that's one type of game that board games have not designed yet. Board gamers have not designed. And that's a game about the news. And in particular, if you were running a news channel, and you had to hire staff to go out and find... to make reports on things all around the world. So they'd have to have like language abilities, which are skills, and then they'd have to have special talents, like one's probably good at science and technology, while another one's good at politics, or another one's good at other things, entertainment or so. And so you'd have to like hire some employees and then send them out around the world and wait for news events to happen, and then just have some money as well. That's very important. To if they're like a news story turn up in Canada, you'd have to maybe fly one of your people over to Canada and see who gets the scoop before the other players. So it'd be a kind of like a logistical game, management game, where you're using money and resources to get the biggest headlines, to get you the biggest points. Does anyone have anything to say about my idea? Craig with his cake.
That's right. Well, I think going on that idea, I think some mechanics that would work with it, because it sounds like a cool theme, is if you got to a place where the story was, have a stack of tokens, like, 10, 7, 5, etc., and the first one gets there, gets the scoop, gets the biggest token, etc., on the line, which would be the way you'd score it. But it does sound like an interesting idea. It could be a fairly frantic game, especially with sort of where you all had to play at once, not everybody took a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Travel Blog, where you all place your tokens at the same time, and then you figure out what happened with it all.
Okay. Yeah. So you like that. Chaz, your cake is looming.
Is what you envision almost something akin to a pandemic where you have kind of a map of either regional or even worldwide, and the news breaks out almost, but instead of spreading, it is more of a race where you have to get there and get it first as these other things are popping up. So you kind of have a race going on while you're managing the resources to get these things first. Is that kind of what you were thinking of?
That is exactly what I was thinking at. A pandemic, but it was a race to get there. Again, sending the right person there, because if you send someone who's good at reporting politics to get the scoop on the latest film of George Clooney, for instance, you're not going to get such a great report on your newspaper or on your Sky channel, news channel, whatever. So yeah, that was what I was thinking. Kevin.
Well, what about almost having a leveling up type of concept where the guy gets the scoop, and then because he has obtained that scoop, he goes up another level in some type of prestige because of his character, and then on the next investigative report, he has a little bit of an edge up or something of that nature.
Yeah, brilliant. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's a great idea. So they're not just good at politics, but later on they can be good at politics and science reports, or good on environment, or talking to people. Maybe they need 5 languages instead of 2 languages to get more places around the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Flashpoint Fire Rescue Flashpoint Fire Rescue and Pandemic combined almost.
Interesting. Yes. Oh, it's like I'm not a game designer. Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, no, I think that's got an interesting. It's a game component or a game theme that I've never heard of before. I haven't seen it. Have you guys seen a game that has had that theme before?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Mm-mm.
Well, leave it to Barry Dublé.
Okay,
Well
yeah.
done, Barry.
I finally got the automatic camera to work again. Woohoo! Okay, so yeah. So that is an idea. If any designers are out there want to snatch this idea up, I go ahead and do it. I'm not a game designer. I don't want to be a game designer. I just like tweaking things and making funny faces. So who wants to go next? Oh, don't all jump up at once.
We're scared,
Okay,
Sarge.
We're just very considerate people.
Just
Okay.
blow the candle out on your cake and go for it.
Well, there's a few things out there that are on this theme, but as most of you guys know, that I love Star Trek, so I think there needs to be more Star Trek themes. I think there needs to be a Klingon board game where the Klingons just beat each other senseless, like Klingon Arena or something like that. That's what I think.
Oh, my cake thing's not working. My computer's loading something, and it's there we go. Finally, there. The Spartacus game with the arena was just rethemed with the X-Men one, which is getting lukewarm reviews. A Klingon version of the Spartacus game might have been a much better retheming of it, because it's a lot more vicious and a lot more purposeful.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to have Kutluchas, we're going to have Bathless and K-less and Kimbak.
I'm positive that I'm positive that all those things you just said are real things. So yes,
they are very real. Well, you can watch The Big Bang Theory and see Sheldon had a Bathless, so it's pop culture, baby. It's real.
It'd just be good to have a face-to-face with Kirk and that green lizard thing, you know. That you know, have the music going. I can't remember the music.
With the Gorn. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd buy it just for that.
Just for the music.
Just for the music.
They keep talking about all these, you know, the Superman versus Batman, and you know, these smash-ups, if you will, of different universes, and you know, it's been out there in geek culture a lot with Star Wars and Star Trek, you know, and you've got the Enterprise going against the Millennium Falcon or something of that nature. So who knows? Maybe there could be some big smash-up type of universe game that incorporates these different things.
Yeah, so you don't think there's enough Star Trek games out there?
No, never.
Anyone else agree?
Well, to clarify, it's not that you think that there are none. It's just that with your appetite for Star Trek, you believe there should just be more. Is that right?
That's exactly right, Chaz. That's exactly right. I love Star Trek Fleet Captains. I have Star Trek Attack Wing. But there must be more games. There must be more to this life.
Captain, that's not illogical.
No, I think what my point actually is about Star Trek, without all the kidding aside, is there's 5 different genres of Star Trek. I mean, we've got Star Trek, the original series. Mayfair Games came out with the Star Trek Catan. Okay, then you have the Star Trek, the Next Generation. Then you've got Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Enterprise. There's a lot of Star Trek universe that is there. Plus you have the movies. You've got so many different races. Good grief. Just explore the Klingon race, like you said. There could be some wonderful things that could come out of that for those that like that universe would do really well with.
It should be a tribbles game, a game where maybe some kind of dexterity game where you just got to throw tribbles around the room.
Klingons and tribbles too. They always go together.
Yeah. Well, we could have a tribble eating competition between the Klingons. You will take on a Klingon race and
Happy Mouth.
Cough up the largest verbal.
Happy Mouth tribbles.
Okay, moving right along. Who wants to go next, Craig or Chaz?
Oh, Craig hasn't spoken yet, so I'll give him the floor if he wants it.
Okay, I'll go. I have to.
Because he's a real game designer as well.
I much prefer co-op games because there's no hard feelings around the table. We all win or we all lose together. Even though some of them have trader mechanics in them, like Dead of Winter and that sort of thing. But I like finding different themes that can go with co-op games. Like, I've got one that I'm working on right now, Dinosaur Hunters. That's a co-op game where you all gear up in the present, then use your time machine to go to the past and try to capture dinosaurs. Having one that you drew that is your specific one. You have to find a velociraptor, but other than that, bring back as much as you can. But there's a time limit that ticks down, and if you don't get back to the place where you came to the past in time, you'll be left there, and then you're dinosaur food. And I don't see a lot of dinosaur games out there. I mean, there's Evo, and then there's a couple dinosaur kids games, but there isn't really an adult-oriented, grown-up-oriented, 14, 15, and higher game like that, which is kind of annoying because dinosaurs are a really huge part of our culture, it seems.
But isn't there Dangerous Species or Dominant Species? That's a dinosaur game as well. And there's a dinosaur timeline. Oh, okay, sort of. Oh, shut up.
Well, there's that Triassic Terror by Peter Haas, which is an area control game. In fact, in my opinion, that game is highly underrated. As far as area control games go, it's one of my favorites. It's got all these different zones. It doesn't have the concept that you're talking about, Craig, which really sounds kind of interesting because it adds together that timing element.
Yeah, time travel and dinosaurs. There's 2 elements there which you don't see in games. So
there was a deck building, or there was a custom collectible card game in the 90s called Dino Hunt, which I actually found a copy of for my daughter, who's 8 and is really into dinosaurs, and we've been playing. And it had the concept. It didn't have specific ones you were going after, but you had equipment which had kind of a take that aspect, and you had a timeline with like 5 different dinosaur periods in time: Triassic, Jurassic, and so forth. And dino cards would come out of this deck and populate the land, and you were spending energy resources to travel backwards and forwards in time and rolling dice to capture the dinosaurs. So it's not a very sophisticated game. It's pretty simplistic, but it's one of the few games that try to really be in kind of take that approach to it instead of just being, you're a dinosaur and eat things, or look at the pretty pictures of dinosaurs. It actually tried to have a game to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, Craig. I think we're all just picking on you.
That's okay. I can take it, Barry.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah. It sounds like a great idea. Traveling back into. But what's the reason for traveling back in time to hunt dinosaurs?
Well, because they don't exist now, for one thing. And so the idea is they use their timer is twice. The first time you have the timer, you're preparing, but you're also trying to zero in on where on the island the dinosaurs are going to be, so you can land in the best spot. And then the timer is like it holds its place in the past for the same amount of time. Once it ticks down, you have to get back in time. Last time we play tested it, we were getting guys scrambling through the mud and get back in the very last second before the thing took everybody back to the present.
Cool, but you're not worried about like the butterfly effect. If you hunt all the dinosaurs, then there's going to be
That's
no
why
oils,
it's an
there'll be
island.
no cars. Okay.
Yeah,
Why, Craig, you've thought of everything.
I tried to.
Sorry, rain on your parade. Okay, Chaz, can you throw us an idea, please?
All right. I had an idea, and I wanted to say, actually, I didn't. My wife, I was talking to her about this, and she came up with a few ideas. So, with her blessing, I'm going to be stealing all of her ideas. So,
like in every one of your shows.
Why stop now? So I'll just
yeah.
Mine's about going backwards in time and hunting dinosaurs. This one, this is about the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Okay, so if you don't know, the Book of the Dead was this burial document, which was used for like 1,500 years in ancient Egypt, and it was placed into the coffin or the burial chamber of someone when they were deceased. And while it's called a book, it's actually a collection of different texts, which included like magic spells, actually, and other things that were intended to assist a dead person's journey through Duat, the Egyptian underworld, on their way to the afterlife. So the idea is to have, well, first of all, the 4 sections of the Book of the Dead were first the Book of the Dead followed the deceased, entering their tomb, descending into the underworld, and then having its body regain its powers of movement and speech. And then they would be reborn and travel to this blessed land, and they would appear for judgment before Osiris, and then they would assume the powers of the universe and become Egyptian gods of their own. So you have this whole journey going on. So what I was envisioning for that was like an extremely meaty worker placement game, like a combination of Kanban and Panamax, where you kind of have this combination in one half of securing resources, completing the stuff to build the spells, combining them into the relics that you need that are required for safe passage. All the while, the deceased is traveling on this path through the underworld, kind of like Panamax, how you get the boats pushed through the canal, whether you want them to or not eventually. And that kind of acts as a timer in the game. And so you need to get all your preparations completed before you run out of time, which would causing the deceased to be devoured by the spirit Amet instead of becoming one of the new Egyptian gods. So you kind of have those 2 outcomes. So that was kind of the premise there that she thought of.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to play that game before I go to bed. I'm about to go to bed in about half an hour, Chaz, and you're scaring the willies out of me, mate.
Clearly, clearly your wife has thought about this a whole lot more than I did.
Well, she mentioned it and rattled off some things, so I actually went and I did research this morning. It's like, okay, let me actually know what I'm talking about here. So I kind of filled in some of the gaps there. But
well,
yeah.
We didn't do any research, mate. I just got a piece of paper and wrote some stuff down.
So that type, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, like I said, that was in effect for 1,500 years. So in human history, it had a presence, but it hasn't been utilized that I've seen, at all.
No, apart from in films.
Yeah, in board games. Yeah, exactly. So in films, yes. So it's I think it's something that's still relevant enough that people would know what you're talking about to a point. They know the concept of it and the idea of it. So it's not something that's totally out of left field. It's something I think that I don't know if it has real marketing potential, but it's at least something that is in people's mind space, possibly.
But it'd be a spin on all the zombie games. It'd be something different than a zombie game or a vampire game. It's the Book of the Dead. It's the Amun-Ra. It's the Mummy, which we don't get enough of. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, I don't picture the monster aspect of it. I picture more the journey through the afterlife aspect and the resources that you have to gather to build the things that you need to prevent yourself from failing during your journey. So there'd be like checkpoints and things or something. So not really a survival horror or monster type of aspect, but more in the style of the path that you're going down.
Takedo.
Yeah, Takedo for dead people.
It has a nice
Very
educational aspect to it.
Yeah, I can imagine that each space that you stop, you have to lose like a bit of flesh.
Good work.
Deary me. Yeah, good work. Yeah, it'd be different. Do you all agree?
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, good thumbs up there, Chaz. Craig. Oh, no. It's only 10 o'clock. Jesus. Okay, I'll move on to my next idea. I've been trying to think of game themes which are mundane. Something which is, there's lots of games about cities and it's the mechanics which are based on the city's name of what the city is famous for, and it's like, yeah, we got enough of those. We don't need any more. So I was thinking mundane things, everyday things around us, and one of those things that I thought of was a fridge.
Care to flesh that out, Barry?
Okay. I thought of two different things. I thought you can either have a game where you're making a fridge and installing all the components in the right way, either as a dexterity game or as a worker placement game like viticulture. And so instead of like planting vines and harvesting vines, you're actually buying the right type of plastic, and then you're judging what kind of distance between the shelves you should have, and whether it should have a nice dispenser, and what's the maximum and minimum temperatures that it should go. Just a kind of worker placement game like that. I just think it's just something totally different. Or I was thinking, another game based on a fridge would be a storage game, where you've got to store certain things in certain areas. And so, for example, you maybe like a soup big. If you've ever worked in a supermarket, they're a big storage center. So you've got to keep everything replenished, and you also got to keep everything stored in an order. So it'd be kind of like a worker management not a worker management game, but you have to you receive like orders of stock which needs to be put out on display. So you have to take the right stock at the right time, but you also have your buyer buying stuff in, and then you have the deliveries coming in at different times. So it's kind of like you're juggling all these balls, and it could all be done with cards, or it could be done with balls. You get these balls and just throw them. What ball lands on the floor, Right, we've got some carrots coming in, guys. Make some room for the carrots. That's just one of my out-of-the-window ideas. A game about fridge.
I think that has potential to be brilliant. I was thinking when you're talking about a personal fridge, you could almost have like a 3D aspect to it. I don't know. Maybe you have to do it with cards, but you could have you could have certain recipes for your weekly dinners or something that you have to make, and so you have to go get the ingredients and put them in their fridge in such a way that you have to be able to pull the ingredients back out with the cards that are on top or the things that are in front of you. And if you can't reach the item that you want, then you have to substitute something else. So you might end up making like chili, but you might end up using mustard in it accidentally because that's the food that you can reach because the stuff needs to be stacked correctly in the fridge and you don't want to run out of time before so you can't make dinner or something like that. And that sounded a lot more interesting in my head.
That does sound a lot more interesting. And that's what I'm saying. We need more games about fridges and not about places and not about generic dungeon monsters and things like that. We need games about something a bit more out there and a bit more bizarre, but the mechanic would fit perfectly. Don't touch that. Fit perfectly into that kind of object or theme. Well, that's just one of my weird ones. I've got some better ones here, honestly.
Well, hey, it kind of goes along with what you were just thinking, but what about? And I've thought about this several times, and I got an idea from a different game, but what about supermarkets, where we actually have to manage a supermarket, but you could, you take a look at like Castles of Mad King Ludwig, for instance, where you're adding different tiles for different components of a supermarket, which would give you points for creating, a produce section, a meat department, a health and beauty aids department, your general grocery department, and then likewise you have some, that you could use a variety of different worker placement or auction type methods to produce the supermarket that would do these kind of things, because there's really nothing out there, but that's something that all of us deal with, every week.
Your idea, Kevin, reminded me of there's a game called Quarantine. It's a tile placement worker placement type game where you're building a hospital with different sections of the hospital, and there's these different colored cubes you pull out of a bag that are the patients coming in, and you have to match the patients to the different sections of the hospital. What you described about building the different sections of the supermarket, it reminded me of something that could be kind of a evolution of Quarantine, because you'll have shoppers that are looking for different things, so you have random colored cubes or random shoppers coming into play, and then you have your different tiles of the supermarket, and you got to streamline not only the placement to give the people what they want, but like all supermarkets, place it in such a way that the really good stuff is farther away, so they impulse buy along the way to the market.
Yeah, I mean, I did think about supermarkets. I didn't write it down until just now, but I did think about supermarkets because I spent 9 years working in a supermarket, so I knew like all the background of, you've got certain goods which are perishable a lot quicker than others, so there'd be like the rotation aspect, and then there's like buying the right type of product which your customer's going to buy. So a bit like I can't think there was a game about a kebab shop where you got to fill the orders of the customers that wanted kebabs. But there you go, there's not enough kebab shop games. I bet there's more kebab shops in your street than there are kebab shop games in the world. Get rid of this. Let's blow out this candle.
Yeah, but it's kind of like having your lost leaders things too, that you're gonna got Charmin toilet paper for 10 cents a roll or whatever it is, but get them in the store so you could have that kind of component. But have you guys ever played Vegas Showdown, for instance?
Yeah.
Well, Vegas Showdown, you've got that auction mechanic there, similar to Castles of Mad King Ludwig, except you've got the master builder scenario, but where people are competing for these different components to produce the best supermarket, and who knows, maybe they could even have different levels of stores, where you grand to some knockoff of Walmart or something like that,
Yeah. Everyone starts with a fruit and veg shop, and then later on they develop into having a bit of a butchery, and then maybe a TV department, and then a books department, and and then a freezer compartment. Yeah. And then car park arrangement, and then you got to hire people to push the trolleys and sort the trolleys out. I used to have to do that. That can make a whole game on trolleys, where you've got to dispense them properly, so that when customers come into the car park, and you've got to make sure that there's X amount of trolleys there, because otherwise that customer might go away because there's no trolley for them. Nowadays you've got different size trolleys. You've got those little mini ones for the old grandma. The ones that are about that deep and can hold about 2 loaves of bread and a tin of beans, and then you got the big family-sized trolleys, and then you got you have a trolley game. Go out there and design a trolley game where you got to push trolleys around, and you're not allowed to carry more than 10, because otherwise you do your back in, like what I did. And anyway, I digress. Fridge games. Make games about fridge people. Who wants to go next?
So what's that? Make games about fridges or fridge people? Because fridge people are a whole different thing. They come from Jupiter or something, and they have to be in fridges. But while I've got everybody here, I want to ask a question of you guys, because I'm seeing it more and more often. How do you all feel about the games that incorporate a smartphone or tablet as an integral part of the game? So like Alchemist, where you get the ingredients together, and then you have to have the phone or the tablet scan them to tell you what spell you actually made, that sort of thing. Or XCOM, where everybody is controlled by the tablet.
Can I go first?
Sure.
Go ahead.
If it'll load. I've just got myself a smartphone. I've had it a little while, and I found out that there's a game that lets you do smartphone stuff, but it's got nothing to do with the game at all. It just lets you play the game, and that game is called Comics. I don't know if you can see, and you can create your own comic strips on your smartphone, and it has nothing to do with the game apart from it's the same thing, but you just create comic strips and write little captions on it. And I like the idea of apps, because it gives me a good reason not to shout at people for getting their phones out when we're playing a game. Because it's normally texting or looking on YouTube because a friend put a funny video there, and it is annoying, and it slows down games when you're teaching them, it slows down games when you're playing them, and so having an app might be a good reason for them to stop texting and start playing.
Well, to answer your question, Craig, I don't play a lot of those games that have that yet. I like to have apps that have like scoring components to make the scoring of the game easier. I like that. Sheriff of Nottingham has a really great Arcane Wonders put out a nice scoring app for that, and there's a few other ones. But personally, I might be in the minority, because I think this is going to be something that's going to be more prolific going forward. I think it's inevitable. However, I'm kind of old school. I want to play the old tactile board game, and I don't want to have to rely on a third-party phone device to do that. So that's me. I'd rather just play the game and get in there. And if I'm going to do an iOS app, I want to do it by itself on the app. I don't want to play it interactive.
I think it's an inevitable evolution of the presence of technology in our life, and when it's a supplemental component of the game, that doesn't bother me, and I think that there's really some amazing potential that it has to unlock for very complex tasks that the app can do to really make a game innovative. But I dread the day where it crosses that threshold where instead of you're playing a board game with an app, you're playing an app with a little board game component. When it crosses that line, that's going to be what ruins it for me.
Yeah. Would you say that Golem does that? Because that looks more like an app than it, and then you just move the pieces around.
Ooh, that's a good. That one's borderline. You still can play the game without the app. It does kind of function as an assistance tool, but yeah, I've seen footage of Golem Arcana stuff, and it does sometimes make the question pop into my head of why don't you just play it on the app and not even bother fiddling the pieces around the board. So that one's close, but hasn't jumped that line yet.
Yeah, I haven't played any games with an app, but I will recommend one app that you should play a board game with, and that is Sirenscape. It's a sound ambience application which you just put on in the background. You can leave it just running on its own, or you can have it going, and you can play with it at the same time. I play kind of Descent and Hero Quest with it, and we put it on a dungeon setting, and every now and again when there's a battle, I tap a button and there's like a sword swing and a clack and a shield sound and a monster dying, and it does take you out the game a bit, but it also sends you deeper into the game because of the sounds and the monster noises, and it's fun, especially with kids. So yeah, I think apps are gonna take over eventually. Hopefully, as you said, Chaz, they're not going to go too far where it's more an app and not a game. But I think they're a good thing. I think they can be a good thing. It's just an evolution. You can play checkers or you can play Alchemist.
Well, what do you think, Craig, about other things that go along with board gaming, where some people prefer to have a soundtrack or music going alongside the game, or I think it was I think it's now I'm probably forgetting. Eric Summoner did an app. I think it's One Night Werewolf or Ultimate Werewolf.
Yeah.
That is played alongside of it. How do you feel about that kind of thing?
Well, again, like you guys were saying, if it's part of the game but doesn't take over the game, then great. Because if it's something where I can just sit here and poke at it and not really have to look up and look at anybody else around the table, and then that's taken away from board gaming. Because, I mean, we have the option. We can play games on the PlayStation or on the Xbox. We play games on our phones or on our tablets. The idea of a board game is the idea of sitting across from somebody, getting that personal interaction. So, like, I think it's great for Alchemist when I'm scanning the different ingredients, and that means that those ingredients this time make the spell of Potion of Flying. Next time they make the Potion of Invisibility. That makes for replayability, but it doesn't make what I'm doing here more important than what's going on around the table with everybody else. And I don't like it when it takes it so you're just sort of fiddling on your tablet instead of paying attention to people.
Yeah.
And as my other question is, do you guys think it is at all possible to make a truly scary game as a board game? I mean, you can make it as a video game or something because you have all that other imagery, but can you do it as a board game?
Isn't Arkham Horror scary enough for you?
Arkham Horror has a bit of dread, but it's not really scary as in part of where you get to the point where somebody makes a noise and everybody has a jump scare. You know, that sort of thing where there are video games where somebody comes into the room and says, hey, what are you doing? Ah! Don't do that, man!
Well, you say that. I hate to promote myself, but I've been for the past year and a half working on a CD soundtrack to replace the one which came with Last Night on Earth. And you know that's not got a very good reputation, and for me, it's just not my idea of music for a zombie game. So I've created my own zombie music with effects of a forest and things, but I've made the tracks so when you put it on random, they jump around. So you never know what track is going to come next. Is it going to be a piece of calm, scary music? Is it going to be the zombies walking past? Is it just going to be flies flying around a boat or something like that? And I've totally forgot what your question was. Can you make the game scary? That was what it was. Yeah, and I think a soundtrack like that can make a game scary because you're playing, and sometimes the music might not fit this scene. You know, there's a player with 3 zombies on them, and they're rolling the dice to attack, and the music's like ding, 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 when you want it to be. But at the same time, if there's like a zing or a zap or just something, the music does something really strange. That's when it can scare you because you're in the sound of the music just engrosses you into the board game. You do feel like you're shrinking down, and you are that little 10 centimeter piece of plastic, and those zombies are coming at you. The music always, for me personally, just enhances every game that I play, and so having a scary soundtrack which frightens you and zings at you, I think it works well. It works well with was it the Temple game with the dice where you've got 15 minutes. Temple Escape, yeah. Because every now and again there's a gong or there's a sound, and that can sometimes frighten you.
Well, that goes along with what I was going to say. Fear is such an internal psychological emotion. I think that to truly make a scary board game, it's not so much the game, but it has to be about the ambiance and pulling the people in. I think if you tried to make the board game components itself scary, all you're going to do is make something with shock value, like a horror version of Cards Against Humanity. You know, it's just you look at it once and go, yeah, that's gross. But to really be something that causes fear and anxiety, I think it has to be about the play environment, the ambiance, and really getting the players emotionally invested into that tension.
Yeah, so would you say something around the lines of where there's a traitor in your midst, but you don't know who they are until they distribute a card to you and say, I'm the traitor and you're dead, or I'm chasing you, or...
You know, just played Spectre Ops, and and that game is just little figures on this little map. That's all it really is to the game. But from the very first turn, I had that adrenaline rush of, oh my gosh, I'm going to get caught. Oh my gosh, hide. They're going to catch me. And it had nothing to do with the components. It was the environment and just all internal for us.
There's that game. Oh, it's a space game that came out about a year or two ago that had that sort of thing. Somebody's infected, but you don't know who. And everybody's running around the ship, and the infected cards gets passed, and all of a sudden more people are infected. Sort of based on the Aliens franchise, and they came out with 15 different versions of the rulebook because people kept pointing out things that were wrong in it and everything. But aside from that, that was the first one that I ever found that did have that tension, because it was like, if you were the infected person, okay, I gotta infect somebody without anybody knowing, how am I going to do this? Or the other way around, it's like, I think I'm the only human left on this board here. Where can I barricade myself to just run out the timer?
Yeah.
Can I just say that when I watched, oh God, not Dice Tower, Will Wheaton, when they did their, no, what was the game? Dead of Winter. Yes. I was on the edge of my seat. I was actually very scared because I didn't know who was a traitor or if there was a traitor, but I felt tense and I was there and I was just watching TV of a game being played.
But
did anyone else feel that?
Well, I didn't watch that particular episode, but my son, whenever we're playing Star Trek Armada, immediately he puts on his phone and he'll put on dun 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 dun, and I mean I'm moving my cruiser, or my space star, and he's moving his Carillion, it's, and the tension is there. And if we're playing Shogun, he turns on The Last Samurai, and there we are, and there, and that adds a lot of tension to gaming. And for me, it's a little distracting because I'm creative and I like to listen then to the musical parts, so I get distracted on the gameplay. But it does add ambiance, like you're saying, Chaz.
Yeah. Last couple of times I've played Nothing Personal, I went to just the iTunes music, and I did a search for Italian kitchen music. We had that playing in the background, and it really upped the stakes a little bit, just kind of having that playing in the background.
You know, when did I ever refuse an accommodation? You know what I'm saying? This is not this isn't a business, you know? I send some of my boys over to send them a message that they can't refuse, you know what I'm saying?
So, Craig, can we get back to the subject? The subject.
Sure.
Yeah.
That didn't scare you?
No, it didn't scare me. It didn't scare me at all. But in a way, are you saying that board game designers should be designing games which implement fear in them? So you want to see more games with fear in them?
Definitely. I mean, it's the genre that we look at. I mean, there's a slash horror that everybody knows. It's splattering everything all over the screen. But then there's the more psychological, the more suspense horror. And that sort of thing can lend itself to a game because you're flipping cards over. You never know whether this card's going to be the good card or the bad card. You never know if you're going to lose some of your party and that sort of thing. Something like that really could do it. I mean, Arkham Horror is a start, but you have to play it like they suggest online, whereas you read the card out to the decision point and let the person decide, make it more of a role-playing game. But then we get into that, well, are role-playing games the best way to create fear and that sort of thing? But scary games are always one of the best for me. If you don't want to play a light game, let's play something that actually gets everybody tense by the end of the game, you know? Like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Yeah, that might be a good thought for us to come up with something on Board Game Theater where we could actually have a game that has a thematic element that's like that and then dramatize it. That might be kind of fun.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, sorry, that wasn't very dramatical at all, was it? Right. Has anyone got any other ideas of game themes that we want to see out there in the marketplace?
I had a few left on my list, but did anyone else have more on theirs?
I have two.
Well, let's hear one of them.
Oh,
You
you're
got
just going
the
to
floor.
steal these ideas, Craig. I'll just email. Why don't you just say email it to me, Barry, and I'll start making some games. Yeah, because you're going to do the supernatural one. You've got this dinosaur one. You've already got a filmmaking one out and a space resource one out as well. So, okay.
So then I don't need to steal any, do I?
Chaz, tell us your
make
wife's
me one of the
ideas, would you?
Oh, well, okay. The next one I had on my list, and if you hate it, this one was mine, not my wife's. So, but I was kicking the ideas around, and I thought of a theme of running a Jiffy Lube or one of those quick oil change places. Because you have the two levels, you have the customer service level with the cars coming in and keeping them happy and moving and communicating with them, and then you also have what's going on, down in the pit with all the parts and pieces and kind of, timed. I have no idea if it would be a cross between kind of, resource management or something and actual dexterity game, but I was thinking of, all of the different moving parts and the two different halves of the company that have to work in tandem to achieve the objectives of keeping the cars moving through the little oil change center. So that was I think that is a theme, a thing that could be a theme. So there you go.
I like it.
I haven't figured out a way to fit refrigeration into it yet, so I'm sorry, Barry.
Air conditioning.
Yeah.
Gotta
there you
fill
go.
up the air conditioner, yeah.
See, yeah.
Or you have to change oil on an ice cream truck.
Barry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, yeah, you could do it as maybe like a Space Cadets thing, where it's the pit stop at maybe a NASCAR for you, or Formula One for me, where the car comes in and then you have like maybe two teams, and you've got like little mini games that you've got to play to change the wheels, fill up the oil, clean the visor on the driver's the helmet, and then boom. And so you got to do maybe a Tetris style game, very much like Space Cadets, but the more you do, the quicker your time is, and then that pilot's out then, and he's driving on the track, and maybe there's a second game where you're actually playing a card to drive that driver, and that's probably not as interesting as the actual, right, I've got to do this in 2 seconds, wheels gone, go! Yeah.
No, I think that's good.
You can do it like Space Alert, where it's got a soundtrack, and you have to do everything in the time while the soundtrack plays.
Ha ha ha! Yeah, there you go, because the race isn't going to wait for anyone. It's going on whether you're ready or not. It's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I like the sound of that. Because I didn't know what a Jiffy bag, what is it called in America? Jiffy
Lube. That's one of the the brands of one of the 10 to 20 minute oil change places. But they'll see that's just it. We forget Jiffy Lube. If it was NASCAR or something like that, with all the sponsorships featured in the game alone would make us rich beyond our wildest dreams.
When you first said Jiffy Lube, it just sent naughty pictures through my mind. So it just sounds like something you'd buy from a Ann Summers catalogue or something like that.
Culture shock. Oh.
Yes. Okay. Anyone, any other ideas for game design themes? Or shall I go? Oh, silence once again. I don't believe this. I'll go then, shall I?
Woohoo!
Okay. Goes wild. Where's the crowd when you need the crowd, eh? There they are. Thank you. Calm down. Okay. Another idea I had, going back to mundane things, is TV scheduling. We don't see any games about TV scheduling. Because I think that is really interesting, how these big people behind your big channels like NBC, CBS, ABC, whatever, they actually every week they got to plan out what shows are going to be on at what time to try and scoop up the biggest audiences. And I was thinking, well, maybe another kind of resource management game where you're buying programs in, and then they're only about maybe 6 episodes, so you have to schedule like one every week, so maybe 6 rounds in the game, and then you've got to choose the right time slot for it to go into, and all the other players are doing the same thing, but with different programs. You do it maybe an auction phase, and then you buy some programs, and you schedule out your week between, say, 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock at night, with 3 programs each. And then you draw, once everyone's done, you draw a card, and that says roughly what your viewing figures are going to be, what kind of audiences are going to be watching. So, like, maybe one night, Monday nights is sci-fi. There's a lot of sci-fi geeks who've got nothing to do, so they're going to be watching telly. So anyone's got a sci-fi program on Monday is going to get X amount of ratings. But if it's after 9 o'clock, they won't watch it because it's gone past their bedtime, because they're kids, basically, or geeks. But a game like that, where you're scheduling TV programs for the week.
Yeah, can I schedule the one that's the? But wait, there's more. If you get your order right now with OxyClean, you'll get a set of German steel knives.
That could be an add-on. You got to buy adverts as well. You can put adverts in between each show, and that will boost your ratings because they're the manufacturers give you. So that'll be an add-on. That'll be an expansion, but just TV programs. And then maybe a third expansion would be movies, which would take up the whole night. So you could buy like Die Hard trilogy and show it like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Well, nobody would watch on Friday, maybe, but. That reminds me of the other idea I had. Oh, before I forget. What did you think?
Well, have you ever played that game? I think it's a Reiner Knizia game. It's called Dream Factory. I think it was called something before that.
And the movie making one.
Yeah, there you're making movies, but making TV programs, putting together the programs, and then likewise getting the time slots could be kind of an auction mechanism or something. that people are vying for, and you get points based on how many viewers you get and something like that.
Chaz.
I liked your idea of not only having the spatial reasoning aspect of you have the programs that you auction for and get, and you have to line them up for the best TV lineup, but also incorporating the advertising revenue that you can get out of the different shows and the places you put them. So there's, even if you get the best show, you gotta have the best place to put it to get the best ad return on it. And the second thing is, I was wondering if the advent of online streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and everything, is that competing with traditional broadcasting enough that could even be an aspect where you're competing against online services, and that could be disrupting the whole thing? Or that might be too many ideas put into the bucket?
Yeah, that could be a 10th expansion, I think. Maybe.
There you go. Yeah. You got more expansions planned out than Dominion, so this you got legs.
This actually could be really an interesting thing.
The soap opera expansion. Yeah. Yeah, I've been scratching my head a lot. That's why I got no hair there. Shall we move on to another idea?
All right.
You're all scared, aren't you? This is my idea show. Okay. I did say Die Hard in the last game, and that reminded me a good game based on Die Hard 3, where one person it plays the bad person, and you've got a map of the city grid, and they've hidden bombs everywhere. And then the other players are playing the Samuel L. Jackson or Bruce Willis characters, and you're driving taxis or you're stealing bikes and you're running to try and find these bombs and try and disarm them. But not all the things are bombs. So like you go to one school or one so it could be like bakeries, but there's an evil man and he's put bombs in some of the bakeries, and then you got to find them and disarm them all and run them all. But there's a way of getting clues, maybe like Forbidden Island style. You turn over a tile and it points left, which means that the bomb's over in somewhere in that direction. I'm just thinking, ooh, no one's ever done a good board game about Die Hard, and Die Hard 3 jumped into my head.
I can't believe you jumped to Die Hard 3 when the first Die Hard is just sitting there. That's my second favorite movie of all time, and not to continue making evolutions of other games or borrowing from them, but a Die Hard one that is kind of like Spectre Ops with a hidden movement, but you have the terrorists you have to eliminate. Instead of being chased, you're kind of weaving your way through, working with subterfuge or stealth. Wow, that Die Hard, I want to play that Die Hard game so much more than your idea, but I think they both got potential.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I was thinking, have the reverse. Normally with board games you have one person that plays the bad guy, and all the other players play the heroes, try to defeat the bad guy. Why don't you play it so like one person plays the good guy, and all the other players have got to try and defeat the good guy. So one player's Bruce, and the other ones are Hans, and all the other méchant Soviet. I have a machine gun. Ho ho ho! People.
I like your idea of the map of the city though, and some of the locations are red herrings, and trying to prioritize and get there in time. That's excellent, actually, though.
Yeah, that's what I thought. A kind of bomb finding game, like a minesweep, but with the Die Hard thing, and someone knows where the bombs are.
Well, you're one step above any of the licensed games that have come out already.
I've got another one, Craig. I've got another one here. But does anyone else want to jump in before this turns into the Barry? He's got lots of brilliant ideas game show.
I got one that, since you're talking about licensed properties, I just wanted to mention that I am so disappointed that there are no games based on the Avatar Last Airbender license. That is like one of the best. Do you have the license to it?
No, I don't have the license, but my roommate happened to just be finishing a prototype of the game, Pro Bending.
Oh,
Three
sweet!
benders versus three benders. I kid you not. We're just in the
Awesome!
testing stage.
Awesome! That there needs to be, just like Star Trek, there needs to be a whole slew of Airbender games, and just like Kevin, I will not be able to get enough of them. My idea, though, was pretty simple for a theme. I got a whole bunch of Airbender stuff, but I'll just say the simplest one. I think that the Last Airbender would make an absolutely perfect expansion for Dice Masters. It has the characters, has the abilities. You can add some twists to the engine with the avatar state and the other things and abilities that wax and wane based on meteorological events. So anyway, yeah, there needs to be more Airbender games, and more power to your roommate.
I will let her know.
Woohoo!
Sorry, distracted.
Does anyone else besides Craig and I know what Avatar Last Airbender is? I forgot to explain what it is.
Yeah, I know what it is, but
Okay.
Kevin, you need to run off, do you, mate?
I need to bug, guys. This has been awesome. Thanks for letting me join you guys and all the banter. It's great meeting all you guys, too. Chaz, Craig, have a great, awesome afternoon. Thanks, Barry.
No
Good to talk to
problems,
you.
Kevin. I'll see you soon.
Until another time, okay?
Righty, oh, buddy. Hey, no, buddy. Sorry. Airbender is it's the cartoon, and there's a film by what's his name, Chandling.
Oh, please let's not talk about that.
No. Please purge that film from your mind. That's a non-event. No.
I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't know. Sorry. Okay. I know what you're talking about, but I haven't seen it, and I haven't watched enough of the cartoon to know much about it, apart from the kid's got makeup on his head.
Yeah.
And...
One sentence explanation. It's a world where there are the 4 different elements: air, water, earth, and fire, and they're different kingdoms, and certain people in each kingdom have what's called bending abilities, where they can control that element. And in the story, the fire kingdom, or the Fire Nation, has gone rogue and is trying to take over the whole world, and they're fighting against him and that kingdom. But that's the basic concept of that universe. And of course, the main thing, there is always one person called the Avatar who can control all 4 elements, and who is the one that keeps the balance between the kingdoms, the nations. So the Avatar is the one that has the ability of all 4 and kind of keeps everything from going to chaos.
Okay. Interesting. I have
similar to
sorry.
John What? Sorry. I was just going to say...
Sorry.
The Avatar, in a way, is similar to John McClane in Die Hard, keeping the balance. So it all ties together.
Okay. Sly Dog. Right. Craig, have you got any ideas?
See, one that we haven't come up with yet. How about running a nightclub? Having to manage the patrons, keeping track of the unruly patrons, having to have guys at the door to keep people out, trying to get celebrities to come in to boost it up, while also managing behind the scenes all the drinks and food items and everything you have, having to keep your chef happy so he doesn't walk out the door. That could be, again, like a worker placement, resource management type game, with a theme that we haven't really seen much of.
Yeah, definitely. And arranging what hour is happy hour. You know, is it going to be 7 o'clock or is it going to be 2 o'clock? You know, I never know when happy hour is. I always arrive too late.
Should you have a live band in?
Definitely. And what live band? Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah. Rock band or Kylie Minogue band?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I like that. That's another management type of game. I like management type games. And I think that is good because as you said, you're managing the staff, you're managing the doorman, you're managing your stock coming in, and you're managing your clientele, and you're also trying to get VIPs in. That sounds like a nice set of balls to juggle. So
Yeah, and it seems like there would be different paths to win too. You wouldn't have to. You could serve the worst alcohol ever if you managed to get VIPs in and had a kick-ass band for one weekend. Well, my revenue stack is higher than yours. I still win, even though my venue looks like crap.
yeah. Are you going to sell just Duff beer, or are you going to sell the Moet and Chardon, Dom Pérignon? Yeah, so you have all those expenses to balance out what your clientele is going to be. I like it. Shall I move on to my last one?
Go for it.
Big. I really want to do a game based on The Thing, but I don't think it's as possible as I'd like it to be. So I've jumped to the next stage, which is a game based on Event Horizon, and it would kind of be maybe kind of Dead of Winter-ish, where you are a cooperative. It's a cooperative game where you'll go onto a spaceship which has been derelict. And you've each got a role, so one of you is an engineer, one of you is a science officer, and one of you is a medical officer. And so when you arrive on the spaceship, you'll have like a randomly generated spaceship, and you all got your jobs to do. So one of you's got to go back to the engine, get the engine going, so there's power, so you can look at the logs, and then there's your medical officer to look round for survivors. So you've all got these different jobs to do, and you're all spread out on this ship and go into rooms, and each of these rooms has like decks of cards, much maybe like Mansions of Madness. So you turn it over and there's a puzzle or something. But actually one of these cards is you are infected. And then your job kind of changes. You're infected, but you've got to hide the fact that you're infected. And some of the cards will be tools, and some of the cards will be other events, like you turn the card over and you explain to everyone, oh, there's a gas explosion there, we need to put it out. Has anyone got any water? Has anyone got a hose or whatever? And everyone will look for their cards and go, oh, okay, yeah, I've got this. I'll come to you and I'll give you this, and then we'll put this fire out, and then we can go into the next room. So you're using all the cards of tools to get things going, to fix things. If you find someone, heal them. But as I said, there's one person that will find a card, and it'll be you are infected. And then that person has then got to secretly kill all the other players by passing on his infected card. And once he does, that person becomes infected. So the game becomes like slowly ganging up on a few numbers, so it's kind of like The Thing, but more Event Horizon than that.
Yeah, I don't want to totally burst your bubble on that one, Barry, but you can actually go and buy that game. Remember the one I was talking about earlier? That game actually exists.
Do you remember what the name of it is?
Oh, I remember exactly what the box looks like, but I don't remember the name of the game. I'm going to have to pull up Board Game Geek and see if I can find it. I'm still here. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that Plaid Hat's next Crossroads game is going to be set in space. So I wonder how similar that avenue they're going down. And actually, also too, speaking of The Thing, I believe, I haven't played it, but I think I've seen it. I believe there's a print and play, little just self-published print and play game based on The Thing that is supposed to be really good. And I haven't tracked down a copy of it, but I've just heard it's phenomenal. And it's based on The Thing.
Yeah, I've heard there's a print and play version of The Thing, but obviously it's not that phenomenal because no one's Kickstartering it and nobody's willing to pay for royalties and no one wants to print it. So I wanted that kind of, because I just recently played Resistance and I enjoyed the ambience that game brought, and I thought, well, that kind of ambience you want in a game which is based on The Thing or a horror film like that, maybe Slither or I don't know, Invasions of the Body Snatchers, classic. Now surely you'll be able to get the rights to that.
There it is. Panic Station. That's the name of the game.
Panic Station.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah. I remember Tom doing that one. Damn, curse you!
But as I said, the problem with that game is they kept coming up. People would find things in the rules that just broke the theme of the game, and so the rule book went through about 15 changes in the space of a couple months after it came out, and they kept putting the new ones up on their site and on Board Game Week saying, "Okay, this is what it is now." Well, this is what it is now, because they kept finding because everybody played it a lot because it's a great game with the suspense and like that sort of thing. But now, have you read the story that the thing is based on? Called Who Goes There?
I started, and then I fell asleep.
Because I think that would be an even better idea, because in that one, the alien who's infected, while infecting other people, he's doing that to keep them... Basically, each alien is out for himself, and the idea is to build a spaceship to get off Earth. So he's collecting parts to build a spaceship, not trying to kill people, not trying to get any suspicion on himself. So if you've seen the movie... That's what the Wilford Brimley character did. He smashed everything up to get himself locked away so he could do his stuff in private.
Yeah. And again, you probably wouldn't need the big license for images and art for that if you based it on the book and said, is there somebody there? Game, there's somebody there. Might be cheaper. Yeah, it's a good idea. But then it's finding out who is that. Yeah. I like that. Good game. Why ain't nobody done it yet?
Well, now that you've asked me to, I'll get to work on it.
You're the man, Craig. You're the man. Okay, any more ideas?
Yeah.
Or should we wrap things up?
Has Chaz got another one?
I just had one more on my list. There was an old computer game on my Commodore 64 that I had when I was in 6th grade. There was a game called Mail Order Monsters. And what you would do is you would earn money you'd purchase a monster and then give it evolutionary upgrades or tech upgrades and such. You know, big tail, fangs, spit, venom, stuff like that. You would customize your monster and then you would send it out in an arena to fight. And and then it turned into from a kind of a then you would actually cut to an actual overview of a arena, and you do a real-time little battle with your monster and all its abilities. Then, based on how you did in the arena, you'd earn X amount of money, where you could buy more monsters or continue to upgrade them and such. And I always, when I think about games with theme, I always yearn for a really good game based on mail order monsters, because I know there's some games that have taken those concepts and such, but I really just missed that game, so that's one that always comes up in my mind.
Yeah. I can't think of any old arcade games or computer games that I'd like to see remade. School Days was fun, just beating up the bully, but nah, it was no fun. Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Jetpack. But then again, I played a lot of not role-playing games, but isometric puzzle games.
There's
I thought I heard it.
There's one that just came out last year called The Battle at Kemble's Cascade, and it simulates a down-scrolling arcade game where you got to fly your ships and try not to get blown up, I think. And they did a really good job of it, which I was surprised at.
Yeah, I haven't played that. But
I was going to ask, did I hear a flash of recognition in your voice, Craig, when I mentioned?
Oh yeah.
Monster?
Yeah, I remember that.
Cool. So, I'm surprised. It's one of those that I would think that no one else out there, recognizes. But just in this small group, to have someone else recognize the name, that's really awesome.
The funny thing is, if you were to bring that in my larger gaming group, at least half of them also would have heard of the game.
Awesome.
I've heard of Leisure Suit Larry, but that's about it, I think. Can we make a game of that?
I think there's Lap Dance, so you got a head start.
Okay. I think we should bring this show to a close. Oh, dearie me. I think we've exhausted every single new kind of ideas. So if you are a game designer and you want to nick one of our ideas, Craig, please go ahead. Do it. We want to see different ideas, and we want to see games and mechanisms and themes just mixed together perfectly. And so we won't have to buy 16 different zombie games just to find out which one we really like. We just buy one game about fridge magnets, and we stick to it, and that's it. Done. Okay. Does anyone want to say anything before we sign off?
No, that's it for now. There'll be another one of these shows soon.
Yep, next month sometime. I haven't decided on a theme or a subject or who I'm going to invite. I might not invite you guys next time because you guys are just steal my ideas. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. I'll do another one. I'll do another one next month sometime. Busy schedule, but hey, that's life. So I want to thank Chaz Marler for joining me. Let's do
You're welcome.
And also my good friend from Canada, Craig Stewart. Thank you very much, guys, for joining in and listening to my wacky ideas and having some fun and making me laugh and making me late for bed. I've got to get up in about 4 hours, so thank you anyway.
Don't forget about Berkey.
No, oh yeah, and thank you, Kevin, for joining us. He's got a busy schedule as well. So put your hands together for Mr. Burkhardsmeier. And I will say good night to you all. Thanks for watching.